Strait of Hormuz, How the Iran Conflict Reshaped Global Maritime Security BorderTrend Editorial. The partial closure of the Strait of Hormuz in the spring of 2026 and its contested, fragile reopening has exposed vulnerabilities in global maritime security that border enforcement professionals need to understand. BorderTrend's monitoring of gCaptain, the Maritime Executive, Combined Maritime Forces, and IRGC communications documents, a situation that remains fluid even as diplomatic negotiations proceed. At its peak restriction, approximately 21 million barrels of oil per day, roughly 20% of global petroleum consumption, transit the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC's renewed warnings to merchant vessels in June 2026 and the confirmed strike on a Singapore-flagged container ship off Oman demonstrate that even a reopened strait operates under conditions of significant operational risk. The shadow fleet dimension. One of the most significant border security developments to emerge from the Hormuz crisis has been the intensified scrutiny of Russia's so-called shadow fleet, tankers operating outside standard maritime insurance and regulatory frameworks to transport sanctioned Russian crude. France's seizure of a shadow fleet tanker in June 2026, covered extensively in BorderTrend's maritime feed, represents a significant escalation in European enforcement of Russian oil sanctions. BorderTrend's monitoring of maritime enforcement data identifies several patterns relevant to border security professionals. Shadow fleet vessels frequently operate with falsified ship identification data, transmitting incorrect AIS signals, or disabling transponders entirely during sensitive port calls. They utilize flags of convenience from jurisdictions with minimal oversight, and they employ ship-to-ship transfer operations in international waters to obscure cargo origins. IRGC warning patterns and maritime intelligence. BorderTrend's monitoring of combined maritime forces and maritime industry sources documents the IRGC's communication patterns during the June 2026 escalation. Radio warnings to merchant vessels citing unspecified security operations in defined maritime zones preceded the ship strike off Oman by approximately 6 hours. This pattern has significant implications for maritime risk intelligence. The warnings provide actionable advance notice that professional mariners and port security officers can use. The IMO's suspension of its coordinated evacuation effort for stranded vessels following the Oman attack demonstrates the cascading effects of maritime insecurity on international institutions. BorderTrend will continue monitoring IRGC communication patterns, combined maritime forces operational updates, and diplomatic developments as the Hormuz situation evolves. Implications for port security and trade compliance. The Hormuz crisis has accelerated several trends relevant to border security professionals. Supply chain diversification away from Gulf routing has increased cargo volumes on alternative corridors, including the Cape of Good Hope route, with corresponding implications for port throughput and inspection capacity at African and European ports. Insurance premium surges for Gulf transits have created economic pressure on legitimate shipping companies, potentially creating openings for shadow operators willing to accept risk at lower rates. For trade compliance professionals, the Hormuz situation requires heightened due diligence on cargo originating from or transiting through Gulf ports. BorderTrend's maritime intelligence feed provides ongoing monitoring of vessel movements, enforcement actions, and diplomatic developments affecting this critical choke point.